Shockwave, Trump's peace plan collapses. Ukraine says no and Washington is forced to rewrite the deal, cutting the plan from 28 points to just 19. Germany sounds the alarm. Chancellor Merz warns peace won't come overnight. Washington backs down. Plan moves in Ukrainians' favor. The US now agrees any deal must respect Ukraine's sovereignty and deliver real lasting peace. The world is changing fast and Ukraine is at the center of it all. This is Ukraine Today. I'm Zoroslava Kolesnikova. Stay with me. The truth begins right now. Shock in Geneva. Trump's peace plan cut from 28 to 19 points after Ukraine rejects US demands. Kyiv forced Washington to rewrite the deal. Final decision now rests with Trump and Zelensky. A major shake-up hit the US-Ukraine peace talks in Geneva. According to Financial Times, Donald Trump's original 28-point peace plan has been slashed to 19 points after Ukraine and several EU allies rejected unacceptable demands. Sources say the plan was rewritten almost from scratch, with Kyiv pushing back hard. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Kyiv, who was inside the negotiation room, described the meet as tense but productive. He said the Ukrainian delegation clearly told the Americans,
"We are not authorized to make decisions on territorial issues.
Any territorial concessions which were removed to be in the original US draft would require a nationwide referendum under the Ukrainian constitution, something Kyiv refuses to even consider." Kyiv admitted the plan was radically changed.
Very little remains from the original version. We created a strong list of ideas and several points where we can compromise. The rest must be decided by the leadership.
US crumbles after leaked talks almost collapsed. The Financial Times reports that Geneva talks were on the edge of collapse. Kyiv confirmed.
The first hours were hanging by a thread.
US negotiators arrived angry over leaks in the media about the original Trump proposal and the loud public backlash in Ukraine. It took 2 hours of emergency talks between Andriy Yermak and US Secretary of State Marco Rubio to cool the atmosphere and save the negotiations. Ukraine forces rewrites. US agrees to listen. Kyiv said American negotiators were attentive and open, adding,
Almost all our proposals were taken into account.
The new 19 points framework is now the only working document. All other copies were physically collected and destroyed after the meeting. Only the heads of the US and Ukrainian delegations kept one copy each. Financial Times writes the most explosive issue remain unresolved and were deliberately left to Trump and Zelensky to settle personally. Territorial questions, NATO-Russia-US security relations, long-term security guarantees. Russia has not seen the plan. Kyiv challenges Moscow. The Kremlin claims it has not been informed about the new proposal. Ukraine forced the US to rewrite the peace plan. The war's end will be decided not in Moscow but in the direct Trump-Zelensky face-off. Peace won't come overnight. Germany's Merz sends stark warning after Geneva talks. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has delivered a clear message to both Washington and Moscow. The Geneva peace talks may have moved forward, but peace in Ukraine will not arrive in one night. Speaking after key negotiations between the US and Ukraine in Geneva, Merz told The Guardian that Europe must be directly involved in shaping any peace plan. He stressed that decision made now will affect the entire security architecture of Europe for years ahead. Standing firm, the German Chancellor declared,
"There can be no peace plan for Ukraine unless Europe gives its consent on issues that affect European interests and European sovereignty."
His words signal that Berlin and the EU refuse to be passive observers while Washington and Moscow try to set the terms. The Chancellor also urged Russia to finally take part in real negotiation instead of pretending the war can end on its terms. He called on Russia to come on the negotiation table and engage more actively. This marks one of Merz's strongest public statements since taking office. Ukrainian delegation returns from Geneva. Zelensky awaits the full report. President Volodymyr Zelensky said he is awaiting a detailed briefing.
Our delegation is returning home. I expect a full report this evening on the course of the talks in Geneva and the key points raised by our partners. After the reports, we will determine our next steps and the timing.
Zelensky also hinted a crucial decision ahead as Ukraine, the US and Europe continue to reshape the American peace proposal. Merz warned that any peace framework must consider not only the end of Russia's war against Ukraine, but also what comes next for Europe's long-term security. Europe will not allow a deal that weakens Ukraine or creates new danger for NATO. Europe warns a clash with Russia is becoming real, but the continent needs peace, not war. War between Western countries and Russia is becoming more likely, and Europe knows it. Military build-up, stronger borders, rising defense budgets. Everyone is preparing for a possible conflict in the coming years. But one thing is clear, Europe doesn't want war. Europe needs peace. The question now is, can the continent stop the Kremlin before it's too late?
A war between Western countries and Russia is becoming increasingly likely.
As I analyze the facts, I come to the conclusion that a war between Europe and Russia is becoming more and more apparent. This is not just empty talk. Everyone is preparing for it.
The buildup of military equipment, the strengthening of borders, and the increase in defense budgets. All of this is to be able to confront the Kremlin in a few years.
In 3 or 4 years, we may face a kind of test of our resilience. It is already manifesting itself in hybrid forms, but it could become much harsher.
For now, all Russia is capable of is testing the patience of NATO countries. For example, these are, let's say, the accidental incursions of Russian drones into various countries, including Poland. After the recent sabotage of the railway, the Polish authorities announced the launch of a new operation called Horizon to protect critical infrastructure from sabotage.
Most likely this only concerns the territories bordering Ukraine and Belarus. Most likely, well, that is not more than that. But again, well, 10,000 people. What are we talking about here? Well, that's not much. It's a very small number. Our entire border service is about 40,000 people.
As part of the operation, Poland plans to use not only manpower, but also military equipment, mobile security systems, and reconnaissance complexes.
These crossings, additional personnel for guarding infrastructure facilities, training in first aid and tactical medicine, all of this is actually relevant. This really should have been done about 2 years ago. Well, only now are they getting around to it. Well, better late than never, at least they're doing it now. That country out of the entire alliance is the one that spends the most money on purchasing all kinds of weaponry. In other words, over the past few years, they've really made a big leap in buying all sorts of weapons, American, European, and even South Korean.
Warsaw has also launched a program to train citizens in basic safety skills, from first aid to actions in emergency situations.
The Baltic countries have been living in this mode for quite some time already. They've been studying tactical medicine for a long time now. As for drones, it seems that things aren't really progressing for them in that area. But, once again, this is a normal story, something that should be the case for all countries that understand and feel that sooner or later the Russian Federation will come to them.
And Britain and France have already decided which specific units will be sent to Ukraine. But what is clear is that this will happen after a peace agreement.
Their numbers will be minimal. That is, the number, most likely we're talking about, well, 10 to 15,000 people from each country. But again, that's a very small number, very small. They won't be able to do anything. Our active front line with the Russian Federation is 1,250 kilometers long. 1,250? For a peacekeeping mission, that number is definitely not enough.
Nevertheless, any military preparations by the West are not exactly to the Kremlin's liking.
They are forcing themselves to further increase their military budgets. Some countries, like Poland, have already brought it up to almost 5%. Other countries are not going down this path, even though it is killing their economies.
But here's the main question. How ready are European countries really to stand up to the Kremlin right now? And how much more time do they need to prepare?
Germany needs, as they told me, at least another 2 years just to get their army into some kind of order. At least 2 years. Ideally 5 years. Ideally. Well, 5 to 7, that's what they said. 5 to 7 years, ideally. At least 2. But not less than 2. Because it's not just about shells, not just about tanks. Of course, it's about money, allocations, placing orders, starting to assemble equipment. It's about people.
From time to time, NATO countries openly showcase new types of weaponry, reminding the Kremlin of their capabilities.
Turkey has unveiled its first unmanned fighter jet, the Bayraktar Kizilelma, which is now equipped with national weaponry. The United States is launching the development of a new fighter jet, the F-47. According to Trump, the F-47 will feature a new level of stealth.
And Germany is even preparing Bundeswehr soldiers to practice actions in the event of the worst-case scenario. Europe is gradually ramping up its preparations and strengthening its defenses. This situation is clearly not in the Kremlin's favor, since at any moment Russia could face an unexpected pushback.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Washington shifts the plan, peace storms moving in Ukraine's favor. The real peace plan is changing and now is favor of Ukraine. According to early signals from Geneva, the American side is satisfied with the new direction. The key message after talks between the Ukrainian and US delegation is clear. Any future agreement must fully respect Ukraine's sovereignty and guarantee a stable, just peace. A major turn in negotiations, and Kyiv holds a stronger position.
The peace plan is shifting in favor of Ukraine, and apparently the American side is satisfied with this. Any future agreement must fully respect Ukraine's sovereignty and ensure a lasting and just peace. This is the main takeaway after the negotiations between the Ukrainian and American delegations on the peace plan in Geneva.
It is still too early to announce the results of the negotiations on Ukraine. They are ongoing. I think today we had the most productive day on this issue in a very long time.
According to Western journalists, the working version of the American peace plan for Ukraine already differs from what was previously published in the media. The framework document has been significantly revised.
I think that certain changes have actually been made there, and most likely these are indeed fundamental changes. Because, well, first of all, on the one hand, the Americans have never denied, and this is true at least publicly, that certain changes can be made to the plan. Secondly, I think that the arguments presented by our delegation were sufficient to convey at least a minimal sense of justice related to ending the Russian-Ukrainian war.
NSDC Secretary Rustem Umerov stated that the updated version of the American peace plan takes into account most of Ukraine's key demands. Moreover, he states that the document is already in its final stages. Of course, the specific changes have not been officially disclosed, but even the slightest modifications are likely to displease Russia. However, as experts say, this is no longer Ukraine's problem.
If they do not agree to a plan that is ultimately coordinated between Ukraine, the United States, and the European Union, then Donald Trump will have to start putting even more pressure on Russia. It's very simple. The so-called plan that was presented, well, it's not really a plan, it's just a list of Russian wishes. That's not how things are done. And probably everyone in the world understands that. The Russians thought maybe it would fly, sorry for the expression, right? But since it didn't work, it seems they'll have to accept the situation and voice some of their wishes. Let them present their arguments.
For now, the Kremlin is speaking cautiously about negotiations. No threats or ultimatums from them. Peskov stated that they are supposedly closely monitoring the situation. But officially, the Russian side was allegedly not informed about the adjustments to the peace plan.
We have not received any information so far. Of course, we are very closely following the media reports, which have been coming in abundance over the past few days, including from Geneva. But officially, we have not received anything yet.
At the same time, Peskov added that this week Russia does not plan to hold talks with the US delegation regarding Ukraine. This is yet another piece of evidence that Trump's plans to hold negotiations before Thanksgiving on November 27th are falling through. Earlier, The Economist reported that the deadline for Ukraine to sign the American peace plan had been postponed. November 27th is no longer the final deadline. According to journalists, issues regarding the possible suspension of Ukraine's access to American intelligence and weaponry have also been removed from the agenda for now.
As of today, it is clear that the process is moving forward for us. It seems we still have some time, and perhaps in the near future we will see some kind of combined version of this plan and be able to study it in more detail.
But this will not happen until the peace plan is discussed by Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump. Reuters reports that the president of Ukraine will visit the United States this week to meet with his American counterpart. According to sources, they will discuss the most sensitive issues of the peace plan, such as the territorial question.
That's all for today on Ukraine Today. If you want the truth to stay louder than Kremlin's lies, like, comment and subscribe. Your support keeps us fighting on the information front. Stay strong, stay informed and stay with Ukraine.